David, thank you so much for making time for us. So
You're
this
welcome.
is what an architect's office looks like?
Well, this part of it looks probably like any other office, but
No, because I was expecting a whole lot more mess, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm renowned in my organization for my tidiness and organization.
Okay. That's
Something
good.
which I try to inspire my staff to do, but with no success.
Perhaps that's, step number one to being as successful as you are. But, let's go all the way back. I read with much wonder that you started off your company, when everybody else was probably holidaying after they finish, college or uni, and you decided, nope, I want to jump right in. Bonkers to many people, but not to you. Explain yourself there.
Well, I've always been very impatient, okay, since I was a kid. I always wanted things done right away. If I wanted something, I wanted it right then and there. And I think that characteristic has stayed with me all along. So when I graduated, and I just couldn't wait to be my own boss. You see, before I graduated, I had the opportunity to get some work experience, a little bit here and there, working for some of the big firms in New York and here in Malaysia. And I realized that I couldn't get along with any of my bosses.
Right.
I always thought that I knew more than
What
they
was the
did.
number one irk when it came to bosses back then?
Say again?
What was the number one irk?
Oh. I always felt that they didn't have the right level of creativity that that the project required. I thought they were going about it wrong. I thought they weren't giving me enough freedom. So I knew that if ever I was going to start a career, it would have to be working for myself.
Right.
So that was very clear. So I started this business as soon as I graduated. I really had no work experience other than being an intern. But before I did, I didn't do it with such recklessness. I actually went around, I checked how this industry is, how it runs. I talked to senior members of the profession. I talked to some developers, asking their advice. Am I doing something that's really that crazy? And to the layman, it would have seemed crazy. But to the industry professionals, the people really who knew the business, it was the smartest thing to do. Right. And I remember one important lesson that one of the developers that I met said. He said, "David, it's 1987. We're in the middle of a bad recession. We've bottomed out. Guess what? Things are only going to get better. So if you start now, salaries are low, rents are low, you can't go wrong." And I think that was the phrase that stays with me until now. And that's why we started then. Right,
so it was a good mix of time, opportunity, and you actually went in with the right objectives and the right considerations. So, but then, when people start off businesses, it's to feed something. And having said what you have just said, no work experience apart from being an intern. So as an architect, you had to design something for someone. So, the initial stages, what was that? What was that something you designed, and who was it for?
Well, when you're really, really small, and we were only like 5 people the day we opened our doors, there wasn't that much big work going on in town anyway. It was a very bad time. But we started doing renovation work for friends, house renovations, bathroom extensions.
Really started small.
Interior design, which is always a nice way to do to get started. We started doing clubs, discotheques, and at one point I was called the Disco King because I was designing all these clubs and discos for Bob Wong, the Modesto, Faces, Phase 2. You will probably not remember those. 11 LA. So we started off very modestly, doing very small things. And then, like many architects, we got a big break when my father and some business friends got together to develop a condominium. And that was on Jalan Ampang. And my parents still live there, by the way. So that was one of our early projects that was significant.
Right, I see. Now, 2 decades down the road, Veritas is one of the most easily recognizable names in the local architectural scene. Do you still consider yourself as an architect first and foremost, or a businessman?
Well, you see, the question itself is loaded, because it seems to imply a exclusivity. I don't see why a good architect can't also be a businessman. So although I define myself as an architect first and foremost, or preferably as a designer, I'm not just an architect. We do landscape design, we do planning, we do interiors. So architecture is just one branch, albeit the biggest branch of what we do. So I'm a designer first. But really, I wouldn't be able to do the work, the scale of work that we do, without having some business sense. So I'm not
so I suppose
a novice when it comes to that.
In everything that you design, as you put pen to paper and start designing, you also think, how can I sell this?
Very much.
How it works for you?
Very much, very much. Because even the best concepts, the best ideas need to be sold.
Yeah.
And here's the interesting thing. The more novel the concept, the more unique, the more challenging it is, the harder it is to sell.
Right.
You'd think that someone would go like, wow, this is great, let's do it. But most people are cautious, because my projects don't cost hundreds of thousands. Our projects cost hundreds of millions, okay? So to put that kind of money and take a risk on an idea which is so novel takes a lot of salesmanship.
Yeah.
And that's only one aspect of the business part, the salesmanship part. Organizing that number of people to put together a big project, we're talking about dozens of people.
Yeah.
It's not just about a great idea, which I can put down on paper. It's about harnessing the resources, which involve dozens, or even in some cases hundreds of people, to put a package together.
Yeah, but David, you're a charming guy and you're friendly, so I suppose that does make things easier. People listen to you, and people want to buy stuff from you simply because of those reasons. To some. But I also read that one of the secrets of your success, especially with Veritas, is the fact 3 key factors. One is you maintain a level of transparency in how you run your company, democracy in your company, and a good mix of people.
Yeah.
So
I guess these are right. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Going back to '87 when we started, I wanted to build a company that would be based on something important, not just based on making nice buildings or making money. So I came across the name that has become more than a name for us. It is actually the principle behind the company, and you'll see that word out in our lobby, truth.
Yeah.
Truth,
that's what Veritas means.
Yes, you're right, and that's what underpins us as well. So that has been the philosophy, and that drives transparency. We are recklessly transparent here in Veritas. Everybody, including our tea lady, knows how much money we made last year. Right. She knows how much we billed last month. She knows everything. She may not be interested, but everyone can know about it.
Information is there nonetheless.
It's all there. And I guess my own American upbringing and background, educational background, and those are my partners. We have Berkeley, we have Princeton, so we're very American.
Ivy League. American.
Yeah, I guess so. So I tried to transplant these cultural values to Malaysia and to Veritas. So we're democratic here. We're all first name basis. My driver calls me David, and people get kind of weird, freaked out about that. But for me, that's normal. My door is always open. You don't need to make an appointment to see me. Just barge in if there's nothing. We actually give awards to people who complain about stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Because without complaining, I've always felt, things are not going to improve.
Yeah.
So if you just harbor your complaints and don't share them, we'll never get anywhere.
Yeah.
So we are reckless.
Reckless. But I'm sure it's reckless and fun. And, I'd really like to go outside and have a look at, how people around you, seem to interact with you. So
sure.
I suggest we take this outside.
Sure, let's do that.
Yeah, so we'll be back in a bit, and we're going to go have a walk around Veritas, so stay with us.